Howdy, folks. Elcorex here. Welcome to episode 16, Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to talk about the Vindicator, a 45-ton mech that, a lot of people don't like, but I do. It falls into the same category as a Panther. It's like the little big brother of the Panther. Does the same job, just a little bit better. Now, mostly because it's 45 tons. The extra 10 tons gives you a little bit extra. All right, so let's just look at what we have here. The Vindicator is a 464, comes with jump jets, check, ching. 144 points of armor, could have a little bit more. Has an LRM-5 for long range support, a PPC for long range support, a medium laser, a small laser, 16 heat sinks, and that's jump jets. Alright, let's just look at this. What does the Vindicator do in its role? Once again, being a 464 mover, it falls into the same category. You're not going to want it to be tagged up with like a 5.8 or the 6.9 moving. Those have a different role. Now, this one here is more of a support mech, and it falls in. You're going to be running it with enforcers, hunchbacks, any Whitworths, that type of mech that's just a 4 mover. You don't want to put it with a like the 5.8s and the 6.9s, a little bit faster mechs, because it doesn't keep up. It doesn't do the job of anti-scouting unless something is like a drive-by and somebody's doing a drive-by with a scout mech. It's gonna get a couple shots maybe, and then that scout mech's gone, and it just keeps moving on. You can't keep up with it. It just outpaces it, and that scout's able to get into different covers. So what role does it fall into? It falls into a medium lance, where you have that slower 4 moving mechs. It will help out being punched into that little niche of a heavy lance, where you might have 3 heavy mechs. Let's say you have a Crusader, a Thunderbolt, and an Archer. What are you going to do? Either you're going to attach a faster moving mech with that, what's a 5.8, you got plenty of those like Shadowhawks and Phoenix Hawks and that nature. But if you're kind of short on points and you're like, geez, what do I do? What mech can I punch in here? Well, a Vindicator, just like a Panther, can be shoehorned in and do a fire support job, because you can sit there and plink away all day practically with 24 shots. That's 24 turns. How many times have you ever played a game that lasts 24 turns? Unless you're playing a campaign or you're doing a 2-day game that's going, I played some 12-hour games before, like when I go to Gen Con or Origins, and you sit there and you're playing 4 days and you're doing 12-hour sessions, just nothing but Battletech. In a 12-hour sessions, you might get, let's see, we're doing about 3 turns. You might get into the 12 to 14 turns in a 12-hour session. You're not going to get to the 24. So that LR5 can shoot all day. Now that PPC, it's an energy weapon, and when you got 16 heat sinks, well, you can fire that PPC even if you need 12s. It's just energy. You're going to go up 10, maybe 12, but you got the 16 heat sinks. It's just free. You just shoot it. You're just gambling that you're going to hit with that thing if it's a fast moving mech or something that's in better cover. You're not going to worry about that too much if you're hitting something that's a slow medium mech or a heavier assault mech. You can just sit there all day and dish out that 10 points with that PPC and that LR5. You can fire in combination with it too, and you're just sitting there in a distance, and you're just repeatedly doing small amounts of damage. Maybe 10, It might be 15. It's hard to say. It just depends on the die roll and your target. And a lot of the games I've ever played with, where if you have a smaller medium mech or and a lot of assaults and heavies around, it may not have to worry about it. You're not going to see that problem that you normally have where they're going to be focusing on the bigger picture. It's like, are you going to fire at that small medium mech that's sitting at range 15, plinking away at you, or 14, or are you going to shoot at that heavy or assault mech that's at short range in your face that's causing your problem? Or he's sitting there, well, I'm going to kick you. It's like, who are you going to go for? That's the whole thing. That's what the role of the Vindicator. You just move it into that slot where you keep it out at a distance where it doesn't seem to be a threat, but you're doing consistent damage. That's how I work with the Vindicator. That's what I use it for. Now, variants. There's no variants in the book, the 3025 book. There's a couple other that if you look on over the years that are 3039, but they're all pretty much the same thing. Now, what would I do with this mech? How would I change it? The only thing I really would do is drop one heatsink, go from 16 to 15. What would I do with that 1 ton? Well, take half a ton, upgrade that small laser to a medium laser. So now you have 2 medium lasers. And what would I do with that other half ton? Well, I'd throw it into a little bit more armor. 8 more points. And you're pretty much almost maxing out the armor in this thing. That's the only thing I would ever do. That's what I have done with the Vindicator. Because I'm happy to sit there at long range and plink away with that LRM5 and that PPC. Now, if something gets in closer, well, I have now the 2 medium lasers because I upgraded that small laser. So I have a little bit better close range defense. And if there's 4 hexes away or 4 inches, depending on if you're open terrain or not, well, you got that PPC. And I'm more than willing to go up 3, maybe 4 heat on the heat scale because you're not worried about anything to reach a 5. And you can control the heat on this mech with those 15, 16 heat sinks well. Alright? It's not a mech that I ever consider as a hot mech, because if you get this mech hot, that's because you're firing every single thing and you're trying to alpha strike. That's not the way you should be playing your mechs in the first place. If you're doing that, think about it in the long term. Are you doing more damage because you're trying to alpha strike every turn, or are you doing more harm to yourself because eventually you got enough modifiers? And especially with a mech that has ammo on board, you don't want to get them hot, because I've seen over the years too many mechs that have blown themselves up with an ammo explosion because they got themselves hot. And if you are able to manage your heat, shouldn't be a problem. Well, I'd like to know if anybody has any other thoughts with the Vindicator. I like the mech. Works good. Does the job. This is Helcrix, and we'll see you in the next one.